Ethan loved a bargain. He especially loved finding old things. So when he heard about the estate sale on Elm Street, he knew he had to go. The house was old and creepy, filled with dusty furniture and forgotten trinkets. Ethan wandered from room to room, his eyes scanning the clutter. He imagined the people who had lived there, their laughter and their sorrows echoing through the halls.
I wonder who lived here and what their lives were like.
He stopped in a room piled high with books and old paintings. A musty smell filled the air. Something glinted in the corner, catching his eye. It was an antique clock, its wooden case ornately carved. The clock face was yellowed with age, the hands frozen in time. Ethan felt an odd pull towards it, a sense of curiosity he couldn't explain.
Wow, this clock, there's something about it.
Ethan brushed away the dust, revealing the clock's intricate details. The carvings on its surface seemed to writhe and twist, depicting strange creatures and unfamiliar symbols. He traced them with his fingers, a shiver running down his spine. The clock face was made of polished brass, the numbers etched in a swirling font.
These carvings, they're so detailed and unsettling.
He turned the clock over, noticing a small keyhole on its back. It was an unusual place for a keyhole. Ethan wondered what secrets this clock held. He had to have it. It would look perfect on his mantelpiece.
I need to buy this. It's just too intriguing to leave behind.
Ethan found the estate sale manager, a frail old woman with watchful eyes.
Excuse me, how much for this?
The woman's eyes widened. She looked at Ethan, then back at the clock. Her voice was a dry whisper.
You don't want that clock, son.
Why not? Is it broken?
It's cursed. It controls time.
Ethan laughed, assuming it was a joke.
Well, in that case, I better get it running so I can have more time to shop.
But the woman's face remained serious.
Don't say I didn't warn you.
She muttered, naming a surprisingly low price. Ethan paid quickly, ignoring the woman's worried gaze. He left the house, clutching the clock tightly. He couldn't wait to see it ticking in his study.
I can't wait to get this home.
Ethan placed the clock on his desk, admiring the way it gleamed in the lamplight. He found an old key in his junk drawer, hoping it might fit. To his surprise, it did. He inserted the key into the clock's back and wound it slowly. A low whirring sound filled the room and the clock's pendulum began to swing.
Perfect, it's working.
Ethan watched as the clock's hands twitched. Then, with a jerk, they began to move. He smiled, satisfied, but his smile faded as he noticed something strange. The air felt thick, heavy. The only sound was the clock's rhythmic ticking. It felt like the entire room was holding its breath.
What is happening?
Section 5, time stand still.
He glanced at his wristwatch.
It had stopped.
He checked his phone.
The digital display was frozen.
He rushed to the window.
Outside, the world was frozen. Cars were stopped mid-traffic, their drivers caught in a single moment. Birds hung suspended in the air, their wings motionless. The silence was deafening.
Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. He was trapped in a single endless moment. A cold dread crept over him.
The old woman's words echoed in his mind. It controls time. Then, from the corner of the room, he saw it, a figure, tall and skeletal, made of shifting shadows.
You should have listened. The clock hungers. It feeds on time.
It stepped forward, its eyes burning like hot coals. Ethan stumbled back, his breath catching in his throat. He had never felt such pure terror.
Gasping.
Ethan could only stare, his voice trapped in his throat. The figure gestured towards the clock, its skeletal finger pointing.
You are trapped now. The clock will consume your time, your very essence.
Panic surged through Ethan. He had to escape. He lunged for the clock, grabbing it with both hands. It was surprisingly heavy, its cold metal burning his skin.
Grunting, struggling.
He smashed it against the desk, but the clock remained intact. He threw it to the floor, stomping on it with all his might. The clock bounced off the hardwood, its ticking unchanging. It was useless. The clock was indestructible. The shadowy figure loomed closer, its burning eyes boring into Ethan's soul.
You cannot escape.
Its voice a chilling caress. Ethan felt a strange pull towards the clock, a force he couldn't resist. His vision blurred.
Panicked breathing.
He reached out, his hand passing through the clock's glass face. He watched in horror as his reflection remained trapped inside. His reflection stared back, his eyes wide with terror. Then slowly his reflection began to fade, until only a faint outline, a shadowy silhouette, remained. The world jolted back to life. Cars honked, birds chirped, and people resumed their hurried lives, oblivious to the silent drama that had just unfolded. In Ethan's study, the antique clock ticked calmly on the floor. Its hands moved with a steady rhythm, measuring a time that no longer included Ethan. The clock had claimed another victim, its hunger for time insatiable. It patiently awaited its next unsuspecting owner, its ticking a constant, chilling reminder of the price of stolen time.